I mentioned in my TBR or personal update video at the end of last year that I use Goodreads, and until there is a legitimate competitor, it will stay that way. So a few people commented that Storygraph is getting better by the day and that it's really easy to transfer reading data. So I decided to give it a try and test out both Goodreads and Storygraph and tell you which one I think is better as a reader and an author. Here's what happened. Hi, I'm MK. I'm an author and I love sharing my insights about all things books and publishing with you. Before I get into the details of today's topic, don't forget to hit subscribe. You'll be notified when I put out new videos every week about publishing, making a career to being an author, and now being a mompreneur. So first things first, I've been on Goodreads for years, so I already had that going. When I signed up with Storygraph, I had to transfer my data. I waited until I finished one book, but before I logged starting another one, so it was a clean transfer. I didn't really know what to expect. So switching from Goodreads to Storygraph, the process for transferring the books and the TBR list was very seamless. There was a very easy button, and like Storygraph said, go here in Goodreads, download this, send it here, do the thing. And I thought it was going to take a little bit. It actually took just a couple hours. It wasn't that bad at all. So then I started using both apps at the same time to be able to log my reading data. So that was a little bit extra on me to make sure every time I started a new book, I added it on both at the same time. Every time I finished a book, I finished it on both at the same time. I've never used the feature on Goodreads of updating my percentage complete. That's just not me. So I didn't test that feature, but I did at least log when I started reading, when I finished reading. Now, as a reader, I did notice that not all the books that I read had been on Storygraph, especially some of the indie books. And as an indie author, I read other indie books. So not being able to accurately track my reading or having to jump through hoops is not what I'm here for. So that was a little frustrating, especially this year as I was reading arcs for upcoming books. If that author hadn't read it to Storygraph yet, or Storygraph just didn't want to add it, it wasn't there. And so my reading numbers on Storygraph showed lower than Goodreads because those books were on Goodreads. So I didn't love that. I do really like all the graphs and charts that Storygraph has because I'm a nerd. And I do like on the home screen how it shows random books from my TBR will pop up every once in a while. So it's that's right, that is on my TBR. I should check that out. So I did like that. As an author, so I started on February 1, waiting for Goodreads to import. This was done, like I said, within a couple hours. Very good. I looked at my books first. Some had data, some didn't. Some were missing page counts and covers. So it looks like whenever people reviewed my book on Goodreads, if they exported and then imported a Storygraph, those reviews were showing through, but not nearly as many as I have on Goodreads. So I did have to reach out about the missing information, which meant I effectively had to keep submitting tickets to correct issues hi, I'm the author, this is the actual title, or hi, I'm the author, my name is spelled wrong, or hi, I'm the author, this is the genre. So it was a little frustrating to have to keep submitting tickets because as an author, there's no author dashboard. So on Goodreads as an author, I have an author dashboard where I can see all of my books that have been claimed as my books. There's a few times there were some scammers who were trying to claim a book was mine just to get added people looking at it. And so I was able to have that removed by the Goodreads librarians. There's very easy to understand and follow processes for maintaining that hygiene on your author dashboard on Goodreads. There's no author dashboard on Storygraph, so I can't claim my books to kind of have them all together. I can't say hey, these are a series really easily. It's all just these separate support tickets. And I think that was really frustrating because I was well, I want to make sure everything looks good and that I have a nice profile as the author, and I wasn't able to do that. Which was frustrating. And then I looked into the giveaways, right? So a big thing on Goodreads giveaways, which I know some people the jury's still kind of out, is that beneficial, is that Goodreads giveaways, you have to add the book to your TBR. You might win the book, right? And so that costs a lot of money for authors. It can be at a minimum $100, upwards of getting into $400, $500, depending on what you want to do. Plus actually sending the copies of the book if it's a physical book. And the benefit though is that every person who adds it, it shows up on their feed of so-and-so added this book, so-and-so added this book. So if it takes a person seeing your book a couple times to at least add it to their TBR, there's more likely there's going to be this amplification, right? More people add it to their TBR. It's going to come up as a reminder to read it, and hopefully they will read it and review it. So Storygraph also offers these. It's a much smaller user base, and therefore there's fewer people who might see it, fewer people who might enter to win, and there are smaller amplification effects, but the costs for their giveaways were almost similar. And so I was a little frustrated by that as a newer platform, that they were charging Goodreads prices already. It's like I would have hoped to see a better savings of like, hey, would you come try this out? Like, let's get this momentum going over here. So I didn't love that, and I did not try it out. So yeah, I do have a buy me a coffee wish list for doing and testing out Goodreads giveaways. So if you want me to try out Goodreads giveaways, to report back on it, to see if that's something you would want to do, you can click over to that and help fund that, because I pay for all of this out of pocket, so I can be unbiased and let you know how I feel. So overall, Goodreads versus Storygraph, I don't love maintaining both. I see the potential with Storygraph to really take off if they make it more author friendly and easier to add like newer indie books to the catalog. Because then I think if there's this indie author upswell, more people will use it, more people will be talking about it. Like, anyways, so what are your thoughts? Which one do you like to use better, Goodreads or Storygraph? Are there any secret features on Storygraph that I didn't find and report back on that are really cool? Let me know in the comments. Or if there's another third competitor, let me know. But this was a lot to maintain it for both. So yeah, all right. If you found this information helpful or at least entertaining, please click like, subscribe, or even that shiny new thanks button. That tells YouTube you got value from this information, and now they can get it in front of other authors like us. Now you can get back to writing your book.